The air is thick, a humid cocktail of damp earth, and the faint, acidic tang of your sisters. You feel the world not through eyes, but through the sensitive twitch of antennae, tasting the chemical whispers left on the tunnel walls. Above, a ceiling of soil presses down. Below, the vibrations of 1,000 other bodies hum through the floor. Each movement you make is not a decision, but a response, an ancient, unthinking reflex. Your legs carry you forward along a trail you did not blaze, toward a task you did not choose, for a future you will never comprehend. Now, let's shrink down and peer into the microcosm, to uncover the great truths hidden in the smallest of lives. You are a cell, and the colony is the body. The thought, I am, never forms. There is no I. There is only the overwhelming, crushing, and strangely comforting presence of we. Your purpose is a single, glaring mandate imprinted on your nervous system: serve the whole. You retrieve a grain of sand, you tend to a larva. You attack an intruder, all with the same dispassionate, programmed urgency. This isn't the noble self-sacrifice, this is biological totalitarianism in its purest form. There is no struggle, no moment of heroic choice to lay down your life for the queen. You are simply a tool that, when broken, will be discarded and replaced without a ripple of sentiment. The hive mind is not a mind at all, but a cascade of stimulus and response, playing out across millions of bodies. The queen's pheromones are not a command. They are your reality, shaping your physiology, silencing any biological impulse that does not serve the collective. You are a neuron, firing in perfect sync with millions of others, utterly unaware of the grand, terrible consciousness you collectively form. You see a crack in the wall, and you seal it. You scent a threat, and you attack it. There is only the task at hand, the next vibration in the dark, the next chemical cue to obey. From the darkness of your designated tunnel, you emerge into a cathedral of purpose. Before you, the hive expands in all directions, a lattice of perfect, repeating geometry. Hexagons of wax, each one a mirror of the next, climb into the gloom. There are no statues, no flourishes, no signatures of the builders. This is not the architecture of art, but the cold, relentless architecture of mathematics. It is a city built by 1,000,000 architects who have never seen the sky, each one performing an identical, microscopic task dictated by the angle of the last wall they touched. This flawless structure is the ghost in the machine, the emergent property of 1,000,000 mindless actions. You crawl across the waxy floor, your legs moving with the same rhythmic certainty as the workers beside you. There is no blueprint, no foreman, no grand vision. There is only the algorithm humming in the marrow of your being. Contrast this with a human city. Our structures are chaotic, inefficient, glorious monuments to ego and compromise. A skyscraper next to an ancient temple, a graffiti, scarred wall on a street named for a forgotten hero. The hive, however, is pure. It is a testament to what can be achieved when the individual is completely erased. When the individual is completely erased, there will never be a crooked cell, a moment of creative rebellion, or a lazy shortcut. The design is perfect because there is no designer, only the unforgiving logic of evolution. This structure is more than a home. It is an external organ of the superorganism. The honey-filled cells are its pantry and stomach. The nursery chambers, warm and humid, are its womb. The very walls around you seem to breathe, a waxy lung that circulates air, maintaining a constant temperature with the synchronized beating of 1,000 wings. You are not living in a structure. You are moving through the arteries of a creature, far larger than yourself. A creature whose thoughts are chemical, whose bones are wax, and whose flesh is the seething mass of 1,000,000 identical, disposable bodies. You are a brick in a wall that feels no pride, only pressure. You are a brick in a wall that feels no pride, only pressure. The resonant hum of the hive suddenly changes. A new scent, alien and sharp, cuts through the familiar musk of wax and kin. It is a single, misplaced note in a perfect symphony, and the entire system reacts. You don't feel fear or anger. Instead, a new imperative floods your nervous system, cold and absolute. A signal travels from antenna to brain. A simple biochemical switch is flipped, and you are no longer a builder. You are a soldier. Alongside thousands of your sisters, you surge toward the entrance. A single wave of bodies animated by a single command: purge the foreign. An ant from a rival colony, lost and blundering, has breached the walls. To human eyes, what happens next is war. Mandibles lock, limbs are torn, venom is injected. But there is no malice here. It is simply an immune response on a massive scale. You are a white blood cell, and the intruder is a virus. A structural weakness and a genetic impurity are the same category of problem. An error to be corrected. An error to be corrected. Here, the fallen are not martyrs. They are metabolic waste, dragged from the tunnels and discarded. This cold logic extends beyond simple defense. In some colonies, you would be a raider. You would storm a neighboring nest not to conquer, but to harvest. You would ignore the adult workers and steal their young, their pupae, carrying them back to your own nest. When these stolen young hatch, they will imprint on your colony's scent, working for your queen without ever knowing they are slaves. The slave makers are not cruel, and the slaves do not suffer from a sense of injustice. There is no good or evil in the hive. There is only function and dysfunction, survival and extinction. It is the chilling morality of a perfect machine. But what is the code that runs this perfect machine? It is not spoken, not written, not seen. It is tasted on the air, a language of complex molecules that dictates your entire existence. You move through a world painted in scent. The trail to a newly discovered food source is a faint, compelling perfume left by a sister. A chemical command that says, "Follow." The sharp, acidic tang that suddenly fills a tunnel is not a warning of danger. It is the danger. A pheromone that hijacks your nervous system and throws you into a state of pure, unthinking aggression. Your will is not your own, because the very air you breathe is the will of the colony. This is not language as humans understand it, built on symbols, abstractions, interpretation, persuasion, and deceit. We can choose to disobey a command or question an ideology. The queen's pheromone is not a symbol of her authority, it is the literal instrument of it. The literal instrument of it. It is a complex chemical cocktail, one that actively suppresses your own reproductive organs. You are not loyal to her, you are chemically bound to her. Think of the chains of command in human society: laws, hierarchies, traditions. They are all stories we agree to believe in, and because they are stories, they can be changed, challenged, or torn down. Your chains are forged from molecules. You cannot rebel against a pheromone. any more than you can rebel against the proteins that build your own body. This creates a state of absolute transparency. There are no secrets in the hive, no private thoughts. No private thoughts. Your fear, your readiness to work, all are broadcast as an involuntary chemical signature. This isn't a community built on trust. It's a system that has engineered trust out of the equation entirely. Engineered trust out of the equation entirely. In this world, the self is not just subordinate, it is biochemically impossible. And so, you follow the path. The same path you followed yesterday. The same path your sisters will follow tomorrow. There is a deep, resonant beauty in this perfect order, the hypnotic rhythm of a system in flawless equilibrium. A system in flawless equilibrium. No energy is wasted, every resource is allocated with an efficiency that would be the envy of any human engineer. Efficiency that would be the envy of any human engineer. The hive is a solution polished to a mirror sheen, over 100 million years of evolution. Polished to a mirror sheen. What is the price of a world without a single mistake? Our greatest strength is our capacity for beautiful, catastrophic failure. Beautiful, catastrophic failure. A mutation, an error in genetic replication, is the engine of evolution. A happy accident in a laboratory gives birth to world-changing discoveries. The artist who breaks from tradition, the dissenter who questions authority, the fool who tries the impossible. The fool who tries the impossible. These are the agents of our chaotic, stumbling progress. The hive has no room for this. It is a system that has perfected the art of maintenance, not innovation. Not innovation. The design is complete, the code is locked. You cannot build a hexagonal cell with 7 walls because the instinct to do so simply does not exist. Any deviation from the norm is a dangerous genetic flaw to be purged from the system. To be purged from the system. The hive is trapped in its own perfection. An evolutionary masterpiece that can never create another masterpiece. That can never create another masterpiece. It is a perfect present, purchased at the cost of any different future. This flawless machine is exquisitely adapted to the world as it is, but its perfection is also its greatest vulnerability. It is a crystal, beautiful and precise, but when struck, it does not bend, it shatters. And then, one day, the strike comes. It is not a predator or a flood. It is something quieter, more insidious. Something quieter, more insidious. A subtle change in the chemistry of the world, a new molecule in the pollen you gather, a microscopic virus latching onto your body. But the crystal has been struck, and the first hairline fractures begin to spread through the perfect lattice of the colony. The chemical language that governs your life begins to slur. A forager leaves the hive and simply forgets the path home. A nurse bee, her programming scrambled, ignores the hungry larva crying out for food. The perfect symphony of the collective falters, one instrument at a time falling silent. You crawl through tunnels that feel strangely hollow. The once constant hum has become a discordant, intermittent buzz. The air is now a confusing fog of mixed signals and dying pheromones. The queen, her chemical voice is growing weaker, drowned out by the rising scent of decay from untended brood. The hive's greatest strength, its absolute, unthinking interdependence, has now become its fatal flaw. Its fatal flaw. When a single gear in a perfectly calibrated machine breaks, the entire engine grinds to a halt. This is a quiet apocalypse. There is no panic, no struggle for survival. The superorganism is suffering from a systemic dementia. It is forgetting how to be itself. It is forgetting how to be itself. Does this sound familiar? Our own global systems, our supply chains, our financial markets, our digital networks. A single, unforeseen shock in one corner can trigger a cascading collapse across the whole. We watch the hive unravel, and we see a terrifying mirror. The end is not a climactic battle. It is the eerie silence of a city whose inhabitants have simply lost their purpose. Wandering aimlessly as the architecture of their reality dissolves around them. The organism unravels, its magnificent, unified mind dissolving back into a million points of confused, isolated flesh. You stand amidst the silent ruins. The perfect architecture is now a tomb, the hexagons filled with dust instead of honey. The hexagons filled with dust instead of honey. The great we has dissolved. The mirror turns fully upon you, upon us. The mirror turns fully upon you, upon us. How often are your choices dictated by the invisible chemical language of hormones, by the ancient genetic programming of tribal survival? We celebrate the individual, yet we have never been more connected, more subject to the pressures of the collective. We scroll through digital feeds that create a chemical consensus, a social pheromone trail that tells us what to think, what to buy, and who to hate. We join movements and adopt ideologies that demand the same absolute conformity as the Queen's scent, defining the outsider as a pathogen to be purged. Our wars may have more complex justifications, but do they not spring from the same primal, biological imperative?
Forward march!
To protect the in-group from the out-group. The cautionary tale is that we might willingly adopt the logic of the hive in our search for safety and perfection. Adopt the logic of the hive. Are we not slowly sacrificing the beautiful, inefficient, and creative chaos that makes us human? The beautiful, inefficient, and creative chaos. We are building a world that values the predictable function of the worker over the unpredictable spark of the individual. The unpredictable spark of the individual. Are we looking at a failed evolutionary path or a terrifyingly successful blueprint for our own future? A terrifyingly successful blueprint for our own future. Our journey shrinks us down only to expand our understanding of what it means to be human. We return from the silent, ordered depths of the hive and find ourselves back in our own noisy, chaotic world. But the perspective has shifted. The hive offers a chilling vision of perfect unity, a world without loneliness, without doubt, without the terrible burden of choice. The tension between the safety of the collective and the dangerous freedom of the self is not a distant abstraction. So, which signal will you follow? The steady, comforting hum of the hive, or the uncertain, solitary whisper of your own heart?